Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Shed of Dread, and let's get straight into a new article. Sad day for the Royal Air Force, sad day for British people when those wonderful people who are flying planes and back in World War II defended this country, and due to the Battle of Britain managed to save us from Nazi rule. Unfortunately, the Royal Air Force has unlawfully discriminated against white male recruits in a bid to boost diversity inquiry finds. This comes from a while ago where they were actively told not to recruit white pilots, even though, of course, statistically, white pilots were the largest number of people in the RAF in the Battle of Britain. But in any case, let's get to it. So, this is written by Deborah Haynes. She's on Sky News. So here we go. Right then, the Royal Air Force discriminated against white men in a recruitment drive aimed at boosting diversity, an official inquiry has found. Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton, the head of the RAF, said he apologised unreservedly to all those affected, including the former head of recruitment who was forced to resign rather than implement an order she believed correctly to be unlawful. That's right, they forced the woman in charge of recruitment to make the announcement that they will only hire diversity hires, and she resigned rightly, and all kudos and respect to that woman because it's absolutely right. Despite the damning findings, the Chief of Air Staff said that none of the RAF senior leadership, including his predecessor Air Chief Marshal Sir Mike Wigston, on whose watch this happened, would face any kind of sanction. Which, of course, if it had been the other way around, people would have been sacked, and there would have been plenty of sacrificial lambs to the altar of diversity. But of course, because it affects white people, we'll just pretend it didn't happen. Instead, he blamed the debacle on legal advice that incorrectly said a push in 2020 and 2021 to fast-track ethnic minority and female recruits into training slots was positive action, which is a legal way to improve diversity, when it was actually positive discrimination, which is unlawful. As I said before, they were actually told not to hire any white male pilots. We accept that some men were discriminated against. Well, no, the white guys were discriminated against, Air Chief Marshal Knighton said. 31 men have already been identified as having missed out on a potential £5,000 golden handshake to start cyber roles in the RAF. As first revealed by Sky News, the RAF is compensating each of these individuals. Air Chief Marshal Knighton acknowledged that there could be more cases and said the RAF would compensate anyone for suffered discrimination. Speaking to reporters in his first media briefing as his new post, what a wonderful thing to start. Talk about getting the shit end of the stick. In any case, he said, I am sure you're going to say, who's responsible? Are you going to follow those as a consequence of this? The report does not single out individuals or recommend disciplinary or administration action. As I said, of course, it was the other way around. Yes, it would. My focus as the chief is to make sure that we learn lessons from this and we absolutely do not repeat these mistakes. I'm stunned that you even thought that saying you couldn't hire white people would fly, but there you go. Wallace was concerned by significant error. Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, described what happened as a significant error and a cause for regret for the RAF. Well, yeah. But he insisted the entry standards were never lowered, and it has been claimed by insiders and reported by Sky News. Well, even if it isn't, you shouldn't be positively discriminating against somebody because of the colour of their skin. Yet he said the treatment of Group Captain Lizzie Nichol, that was the wonderful woman who stood by her ground and said this is not acceptable, was then the head of recruitment who raised the alarm about the unlawful activity and ended up losing her career, needs to be looked at considerably. No, what you need to do is pay her a shitload of money. And a nice public apology wouldn't go amiss. He said the scrutiny was needed of why she was ignored, because she was a white woman going against diversity hiring protocol and therefore was already the enemy before she did anything else. Why she was indeed put under that pressure, because you lot with your diversity hires made that happen. And I don't want to see anyone put under that pressure or do something like that. What we've seen in the RAF, it happens every single day in multiple companies and businesses. The admission marks a stunning U-turn by the RAF on the first scandal was first exposed last August by Sky News, when it was revealed that Group Captain Nicole had resigned after refusing to carry out an order to discriminate against white men. She was put into this position after her chain of command under Air Vice Marshal Maria Byford, who reported to Air Chief Marshal Wigston, insisted the order was to be carried out despite Group Captain Nicole saying she had received new legal advice that it was unlawful. Why did she need new legal advice? You're discriminating against somebody because of the colour of skin. That's racism and illegal. Why did you need to get new legal advice? It's irrelevant. That is the law. Only last September, in evidence to Parliament, Air Chief Marshal Wigston assured MPs there was no unlawful discrimination against white men. If you're saying you're not going to hire white men, you're discriminating against them. It's that simple. Uncomfortable reading a 72-page report of the results of a non-statutory inquiry ordered by Air Chief Marshal Wigston in the wake of the furore found that then head of recruitment had been right. I don't understand how you can come to the conclusion that she was right. I don't get it. He also criticised senior leaders for not relying on reliable forecasts when setting ambitious targets to increase the ratio of women and ethnic minority recruits. Why the rush? Why the push? This ticking boxes never works, never will work. Any case, Air Chief Marshal Knighton admitted that the report made pretty uncomfortable reading. Yeah, because you got caught out being racist. The report sought to find out what happened to the lead-up of Group Captain Nichols' resignation. It also looked into allegations by the officer that she had been a victim of institutional bullying because she had been forced to chase impossible diversity targets. I mean, the other thing you have to remember is perhaps women and people of diverse, don't want to be pilots, don't want to be in the RAF. You ever thought of that? You may be struggling to recruit them because they're not interested. So instead of dealing with that issue, you force positive discrimination against white people. The report cleared the RAF of the bullying allegations. Well, of course they would, but it concluded that Group Captain had been right to call out the unlawful recruitment processes. The whole affair is framed by an ambition set by Air Chief Marshal Sir Mike Wigston to significantly improve the RAF's diversity, defining the goal of his tenure. In other words, look at me, how good I am. But this was translated down the chain of command into impossible recruitment targets. Sky News even revealed that white men seeking to join the Royal Air Force had been described as useless white male pilots. Sexism and racism all in one statement. In leaked emails, it exposed the pressure placed on recruitment officers to improve diversity. Yet again, not necessarily giving the job to the best and qualified, but to actually call anyone who's useless white male. And it's just imagine the furore if it had been the other way around. A number of selection boards were placed, new recruits on courses, a crucial part of maintaining the fighting strength of the RAF, were also cancelled if they did not include women or ethnic minorities, according to the messages. So if you're wondering why we're short of pilots, it's because none of them are trained unless you have a woman or an ethnic minority on the training course, which will be difficult. The unlawful activity happened in a climate under the previous head of recruitment before Group Captain Nicole took up her role in March 2021. In the recruitment year of March 2020 and to the year March 2021, a total of 161 ethnic minority and females were pulled forward into initial training ahead of white men. So that is definitely positive discrimination. We found that the concerns were raised by the time by R&S, recruitment and selection staff, but those who led the initiatives believed they were pushing the boundaries of positive action rather than acting unlawfully. No, they knew exactly what they were doing. Group Captain Nicole, however, sought new legal advice. I don't know why it was one any needed, but she went and did that, fair play to her, on May and June, and clearly activities were contrary to the Equality Act 2010, which provided reasonable justification for the former Group Captain R&S to state that the acts of positive discrimination had taken place, RU recruitment year 2021. And despite this advice, she was still under pressure to prioritise women and ethnic minorities ahead of white men. The report described how this advice was neither seen or understood by most senior echelons of the RAF, 2-star officers and above. There's no excuse. It's a simple thing. Racism is a simple thing. If I did this to a black person, would that be racist? Yes. So if it's the same principle, the same everything. There was also resistance from the top to challenge that Group Captain Nicole made. Well, what a surprise. The report said we found that the change of command's reaction to the former Group Captain R&S was overly defensive and not properly considered whether she might have actually been justified in what she said regarding previous acts of positive discrimination or the legality of what she was asked to do, and that insufficient effort had been made to determine the facts. I still don't understand why it needed legal advice. Let me have just a quick sip of the old beer. Wet the whistle. Lovely. Tobias Elwood, the chair of the Defence Select Committee, said in his colleagues would consider whether to ask the previous chief of the SF to correct the record that he previously denied any lawful discrimination taken place. Well, he will now. It's been found out. I do hope that Mike Wigton, now conveniently retired, recognises how perhaps he misled Parliament. No, he didn't. Perhaps he did mislead Parliament in coming in front of our committee, and they should now have the opportunity to correct the record. Discrimination was taking place, and that was illegal. See, that was from the get-go. Straight away. This is the problem with the diversity and inclusivity programs everybody's being forced to implement, because it leads to actual discrimination against white people and white males in particular. You cannot simply have a report such as this, which outlines systematic, deliberate failures that were being done in the pursuance of something that was illegal. You simply cannot gloss over or even retire from the RAF without comment being made, without some form of reprimand occurring to ensure that this does not happen again. James Heppeney, if I'm saying these names wrong, please accept my apologies. I'm not very good with names. The Armed Forces Minister told Sky News last year that any evidence of positive discrimination would be investigated and would not be tolerated. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The RAF is a racist organisation, and for the first time in as far as I can remember, it's actually in favour of white people for a change. It's not acceptable. It really isn't. In any case, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like and share. You can see my social media locations above. If you really enjoyed this and any more content, you can always subscribe. If you do, don't forget to hit that magic bell and select all so you get notifications from YouTube that I've done another video. And with that, I'm done. And all you have to do is, get out my shed.